Hello, Dr. Kit Slies here, psychologist and life coach. And I'm here to inspire your confidence, your self compassion, and your growth. And I decided this month of March to talk about a theme of growth, growing. I figured it was a good time to visit this topic. Here we are 3 months, into the new year, where a lot of us have set goals for the year and maybe have lost touch with that. And so, my hope in talking about growth is to get you all to revisit what are your goals? How are you growing? How are you healing? And what are the obstacles to that? Last week, I talked about how self awareness is a really essential part of our growth and healing. We need to know what it is that we need, what it is that we want, and our emotions help guide us in that regard. And if we're out of touch with those emotions, that we might be confusing our goals and our growth with other people or systems around us, like our families, our kids, our boss, our colleagues. Okay. So that self awareness is really important. This week, what I want to be talking about is one of the biggest obstacles to growth and healing, which is our fears. If you've been doing any of that self awareness work, fear, if you're human, has probably come up for you in some way, shape, or form. And so I want to talk a little bit today about how to work with that. But before I share that, it's important for you to understand my approach, my belief about everybody that I work with, all my clients, about myself, about anybody who's watching this, is that we have contained within us from the moment that we are born our full potential, everything that we need to grow to our full potential. We already know how to do that. Things in life get in our way that might create a barrier to us growing or reaching that potential. But my belief is that it is our natural tendency, when there are no barriers to stop us, to just continue to grow. My husband and I, we live on a property with a number of large oak trees. Our last property that we lived on had these large walnut trees, and it blows my mind. You look at those tiny little acorns, or the walnuts; those are pretty cool, right? The shell and then the seeds inside and everything, and those ginormous trees, right? They come from these tiny seeds, and contained within that seeds is all the programming, all the knowledge, all the wisdom, everything that it needs to know how to grow into these majestic, amazing plants. And that is a lovely metaphor. And I think a true metaphor for us as humans. We have contained within us everything that we need. And just like that tree, its growth might be influenced by its surroundings, the weather, how much sun it's getting, if there are other trees around blocking its way, right? It might change how it grows and how big it can get, but it knows exactly what it needs to do. And it has that potential to grow into this majestic thing. It's contained within it from its birth as a seed, just as you have that potential. And one of the things that gets in the way for all of us is fear. Fear can come in so many shapes and forms. A lot of the times we don't even recognize it when it's coming up, which is why that self-awareness piece is so important. Because when you have that self-awareness, you're able to recognize when fear is coming up. But the other thing about fear is that even when we're aware it's coming up, just because of the way we are programmed to deal with fear, we often are going to try to avoid it. Fear feels scary. And the reason for that is because we are designed to avoid and sometimes take head on, but often avoid things that are scary. It's a survival mechanism, right? We speaking of pre-programming, we've been programmed for survival evolutionary purposes to avoid things that can kill us, right? And our brain doesn't know the difference between, the lion millions of years ago on the tundra that could kill us, a life-threatening thing. It doesn't know the difference between that and something that's scary but isn't actually life-threatening. Our nervous system responds in pretty much the same way. Hey, avoid that thing. Well, there's three responses. You can either avoid the thing, you can fight it head on, or you can just completely shut down. So fear is a very powerful potential barrier. And so if you are aware that fear is coming up, and you are aware that one of your responses is to either shut down or want to avoid, then we've got some work to do. Now, if you feel fear and take things head on, then great. That's as long as you're not feeling fear all the time, that can be a very appropriate response, and one that can be very motivating and activating and get you towards your goals. But if you're shutting down or avoiding, then it is important to name your fear and to unpack it a little bit. Okay, again, because when we're avoiding or shutting down, a lot of times it feels like the fear goes away, but in reality it hasn't. It's still there deep within. We're not dealing with it. And we want to get you to a place of taking it head on, which can feel very scary. But when we unpack fear, when we go into it, what often happens is that the fear doesn't feel as big and scary as it actually is, because our brains will tend to make a fear feel bigger and scarier it is, because it thinks it's protecting us. So we have to look at the fear. The way that we do that is when you name the fear. What are you actually afraid of? What is that worst case scenario for you? And then you want to actually play that out. Well, like, what would that mean? Like, if that thing actually came true, what would that mean about you? What would that mean about your life? Is it something that you could cope with? Is that even a likely scenario? You want to answer all these questions and dive into it, because if we don't answer these questions, our brain is going to make up something for us. It's going to tell us a story, and the story typically is that thing that we are afraid of is really likely, and it's something that we can't handle. And most of the time, that is not true. So you need to name your fear, unpack it, and look at how likely it is or how unlikely. And if you think that you can cope with it, play that out. What would you do? Okay, yeah, it might suck. It might be an uncomfortable situation. It might be hard, but those are all things that you can cope with and take on. And then you want to show your brain the other side of things. What's the best case scenario? Like, what is the actual best outcome? Is that the thing that you are growing towards? Is that the thing that is your full potential? And you want to show your brain that side of things too, because that usually feels good and that could be motivating. And sometimes our reality is somewhere a little bit more like in between. We're maybe not quite at that best case scenario, but we're not in the worst case scenario either, the thing that we're afraid of. This technique is called mental contrasting. You need to visualize the outcome that you want, that best case scenario, but you also need to show your brain how you can overcome the barriers, the fears that are percolating in your either your full conscious or your subconscious or your complete unconscious, right? Wherever those are percolating, you need to unpack them. Mental contrasting helps us reach our potential. So I hope that you can take this information today and apply it to whatever area you're trying to grow into, grow through, heal, and use this in the spirit of this month of spring, March, birth, growth, renewal, and allow it to invigorate you, inspire you, and build your confidence so that you can continue to work towards your goals and grow to your fullest potential. I hope that this was helpful, and I'll see you next week. Bye for now.